Welcome to Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity, a playbook for living healthier and longer. I'm Josie. Along with being a certified personal trainer and longevity enthusiast, I am also a data and AI executive with 4 master's degrees, including one in AI from Johns Hopkins. In each episode, I'll share simple technology and AI-backed strategies with practical steps that you can use to build your own longevity roadmap. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so be sure to check with your physician before trying anything we discuss on the show. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're stepping into one of the strangest, calmest, and most science-backed rituals in my longevity routine. If you're my neighbor walking past the window, you might think that I'm testing nightclub lighting or filming a low-budget sci-fi scene. But in reality, it's me wearing my LED mask, bathed in red and near-infrared light, giving my mitochondria their nightly workout. When I first heard about red light therapy, also called photobiomodulation, my reaction was pure skepticism. The promise sounded absurd. Shine a light on your skin and somehow your cells get younger, stronger, and more efficient? As a data-driven person, my instinct was to check the evidence. I wanted mechanisms, not marketing. So I started digging, and what I found surprised me. NASA scientists used it in the 1990s to help astronauts heal wounds in space. Dermatologists adopted it for acne and sun damage. Physical therapists began using it for recovery and joint pain. And today, clinical studies keep stacking up, showing measurable improvements in collagen, inflammation, recovery, and sleep. That's when I stopped rolling my eyes and started experimenting. And here's what really hooked me. It doesn't just work on paper, it feels good. The warmth, the stillness, the quiet, it's one of the few longevity habits that relaxes you while compounding benefits over time. Most habits demand effort: fasting, lifting, cardio. Red light therapy actually feels indulgent, yet delivers results you can actually track. By the end of this episode, I want you to walk away with 3 things. First, you'll understand what red light therapy actually is and what the science says about how it works. We'll unpack the wavelengths, the biology, and why the details matter, because not all red lights are created equal. Second, we'll explore why it matters for longevity. You'll see how this seemingly simple light touches the deeper levers of aging, mitochondrial function, inflammation, and circulation, and why it may help your body act a little younger from the inside out. And third, you'll learn how to apply it safely and effectively in your own routine. Whether you're a skincare enthusiast, a weekend athlete, or just longevity curious, I'll walk you through the devices, the timing, and the guardrails that turn curiosity into results. Along the way, I'll share how I use AI to translate the "it feels nice" side of red light therapy into measurable data, tracking changes in HRV, deep sleep, and recovery. And I'll tell you what's worked best for me after years of trial and error and a few glowing selfies. So if you've ever wondered whether that red glow flooding social media is real science or just photogenic placebo, stay with me. By the end, you'll know exactly what red light therapy does, why it matters for longevity, and how to make it part of your own health ritual safely, efficiently, and maybe even joyfully. Before we dive into the science, let's set the stage. Why does red light therapy matter right now? And why are so many people, from dermatologists to pro athletes, standing in front of glowing panels? At its core, red light therapy isn't about beauty gadgets or wellness fads. It's about cellular performance. The same way resistant training challenges your muscles or fasting challenges your metabolism, red light challenges your mitochondria, the engine that powers nearly every process in your body. And here's the simplest version. When your mitochondria absorb very specific wavelengths of red and near-infrared light, they produce more energy and less oxidative stress. And that's the foundation of every claim you'll hear later in this episode, from smoother skin to faster recovery to deeper sleep. And why does that matter for longevity? Because aging, when you strip away the buzzwords, is really a story of declining energy and increasing inflammation. Your cells get sluggish, communication falters, and repair slows down. Red light therapy appears to nudge those processes back towards balance, giving cells more ATP to spend on maintenance and repair rather than on survival mode. And unlike many longevity tools, this one isn't punishing. It's not a cold, fast plunge or a heavy lift. It's light, gentle, non-invasive, and pleasant enough that most people can actually stick with it. And that matters because consistency is the real longevity multiplier. So who benefits most? Anyone interested in skin health, because fibroblasts, the cells that make collagen, respond really well to red wavelengths. And anyone training hard or managing soreness, because near-infrared light penetrates deeper into muscle and joint tissue, improving circulation and recovery. And anyone chasing better sleep quality, since evening exposure supports melatonin rhythms instead of suppressing them like blue light does. And honestly, anyone who wants a habit that feels restorative instead of depleting. In the next segment, we'll go deeper into the mechanism and evidence, what's proven, what's emerging, and where healthy skepticism still belongs. We'll talk wavelengths, dose ranges, effect sizes, and safety windows, so that by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what's real and what's just glow hype. Think of this primer as your orientation before the deep dive. Red light therapy matters because it targets the root issue of aging, cellular energy, and does it in a way that's enjoyable enough for us to sustain for the long haul. Now, let's flip on the science switch and see how the light actually works. Inside almost every cell in your body are thousands of mitochondria, tiny organelles that act like energy power plants. Their job is to turn oxygen and nutrients into ATP, the cellular energy currency that keeps everything running. But mitochondria aren't invincible. Aging, stress, inflammation, and even poor sleep all slow down their efficiency. Enter red and near-infrared light. When specific wavelengths, typically 630 to 660 nanometers for red and 810 and 850 for near-infrared hit the skin, they're absorbed by an enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase in the mitochondrial electron transport chain. And here's what happens next. First, nitric oxide displacement. During stress, nitric oxide can bind to cytochrome C oxidase, blocking oxygen and slowing ATP production. The photons from the red light literally knock nitric oxide off of that site, freeing up the enzyme to work again. Second, improved electron flow. Once unblocked, the electrons move more efficiently down the chain, generating more ATP. And more cellular energy means better repair, regeneration, and signaling. Third, mild hormetic stress. The light also produces small, short-lived bursts of reactive oxygen species, tiny stress signals that actually trigger adaptive responses. The antioxidant systems ramp up, inflammation cools, and the protective genes turn on. And fourth, nitric oxide recycling. That freed nitric oxide that we just discussed doesn't vanish. It diffuses into nearby tissues, widening blood vessels and improving microcirculation. So more nutrients in and more waste out. It's a remarkably elegant process that's low risk, high potential, and directly tied to one of aging's core bottlenecks, declining mitochondrial performance. Red light therapy has been studied for over 3 decades across dermatology, sports recovery, pain management, and even neurology. So let's break it down by strength of evidence. What's solid, what's promising, and what still needs a little bit more work. When it comes to skin health, the data are strongest. Controlled clinical trials consistently show improvements in collagen density, elasticity, and fine lines. In a double-blind study published in Photomedicine and Laser Surgery, participants who received 633 nanometer red light twice a week for 8 weeks showed measurable increases in collagen and tone with visible wrinkle reduction compared to the placebo light. A follow-up meta-analysis confirmed the same pattern. Fibroblast activity rises, inflammation drops, wound healing accelerates, and the skin barrier strengthens. And while the magnitude isn't extreme, about 10 to 20% improvement in elasticity, it's still consistent, repeatable, and safe. And that's why dermatologists trust it. It works as long as the wavelength and dose are correct. Next, muscle recovery and performance. Athletes have been early adopters and the results are very encouraging. In 2016, a review in the Journal of Athletic Training found that pre or post-exercise exposure to 660 to about 850 nanometer light reduced delayed onset muscle soreness and improved torque or peak power recovery by about 10%. A later meta-analysis covering 46 trials echoed that conclusion. Photobiomodulation enhances muscle performance and accelerates recovery when applied within an hour of training. Mechanistically, it's all about that ATP and blood flow. More energy, less inflammation, and faster rebuild. It won't turn you into an elite lifter overnight, but it shortens the soreness window, and that consistency matters. Then there's joint pain and inflammation. Here too, the evidence is pretty substantial. In osteoarthritis studies, near-infrared light, specifically around the 810 to 830 nanometers, significantly reduced pain and stiffness scores compared to the placebo treatments. In a 2020 review in Lasers in Medical Science, researchers found that the average pain reduction was around 30 to 40%, comparable to mild NSAID effects. So for knees, hands, even tendon irritation, it's a useful adjunct. Sleep and circadian rhythm are newer territories but are growing fast. Unlike blue or white light, red wavelengths don't suppress melatonin. A small 2012 trial with elite female basketball players found that 30 minutes of 670 nanometer light each night for 2 weeks improved both sleep quality and endurance performance. More recently, a 2023 pilot study in older adults showed longer, deeper sleep phases and higher morning alertness with gentle evening exposure. This mechanism likely combines both neuronal energy with subtle circadian tuning, and while the sample sizes are small, the direction is promising, especially if you're already tracking sleep metrics. Now, for brain health and mood, this is the frontier. Near-infrared light around 810 nanometers have been tested transcranially, which means through the forehead, in mild depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. A randomized trial at Boston University reported improved attention and mood after just 8 sessions. And animal studies hint at reductions in amyloid and tau buildup, but human data remain early stage. Safety looks excellent, and dosage and penetrations are the main variables. So for now, it's experimental but intriguing. Finally, let's talk about the weak evidence zone: weight loss, hair growth, and the sweeping anti-aging claims. This is where marketing runs ahead of the science. There's little to no reliable evidence that red light alone melts fat or extends lifespan. So if someone is promising you a 10-year biological reversal from standing in front of a panel, just smile politely and move on. Now let's discuss numbers that matter. Light therapy is not a one-size-fits-all. Precision is the difference between placebo and progress. First, in terms of wavelength, red light 630 to 660 nanometers works best for skin and shallow tissues. Near infrared, which is 810 to 850 nanometers, penetrates deeper, reaching muscle and joints. You want the light to be about 6 to 18 inches from the skin so that you're able to achieve about a 10 to 60 joules per square centimeter per session on your skin. And this may be a simple reminder, but intensity rises exponentially as you move closer, so your placement of how far you are away from the light truly matters. And this part is something that I have to consistently remind myself, is to make sure that I limit the time between 10 to 20 minutes per area, because longer isn't better. More than 30 minutes can actually blunt your benefits from a phenomenon called biphasic dose response. And most people respond well to about 3 to 5 sessions per week. Think of it as Goldilocks for light. Too little does nothing, but too much also overwhelms the cell. The sweet spot is consistent, moderate exposure. One of red light therapy's biggest strength is its safety margin, but there are still some guardrails you need to follow. Make sure you're not staring directly into high output panels, and use protective goggles if you're doing full body sessions. If you're taking photosensitizing medications like tetracyclines or isotretinoins or even St. John's wort, make sure you talk with a physician first. And speaking of physicians, pregnancy data are limited, so make sure that you seek medical guidance here as well. And high intensity heat really shouldn't occur, so if it feels too hot, you're too close to the light. Used correctly, the side effects from red light therapy are rare, maybe some mild redness or irritation from overuse at most. So if we rank applications by scientific strength, it looks like this. Number 1 is skin rejuvenation with high confidence from multiple randomized controlled trials and meta-analysis. Muscle recovery is moderate to high confidence with consistent sports performance trials. Joint pain is also pretty moderate with solid pain reduction evidence, and sleep and mood are still emerging with small but positive human studies. Brain and cognition are in early stages with mostly pilot data, and fat loss or quote-unquote anti-aging is weak and largely anecdotal. Overall, red light therapy sits in that sweet spot between established tool and evolving science. For skin, joints, and recovery, it's real. For sleep and cognition, it's developing. For weight loss or immortality, not so much. So let's put the science all together now. Here's the big picture. Red light therapy works because it improves cellular energy efficiency while reducing inflammatory load. That 1-2 combination supports many longevity pathways indirectly. Better repair, improved circulation, and stronger tissue resilience. It's a biological tune-up, subtle, cumulative, and synergistic with other habits like nutrition, exercise, and good sleep hygiene. It's not a magic beam that freezes time, but it's a meaningful way to support cellular health safely and sustainably. And here's the key takeaway. Moderation and precision outperform intensity. The people seeing the best results aren't the ones standing in front of their panels for an hour. They're the ones using certified devices correctly a few times a week for months on end. Up next, we'll translate all of this science into practice. How to choose the right device, build a protocol, and even use AI to make sure that your glow isn't just aesthetic, it's measurable. Now that we've explored what red light therapy is and why it matters quite thoroughly, let's talk about how to do it safely, effectively, and sustainably. This is where we move from science to practice and where ritual becomes routine. Before you ever buy a gadget, pause and ask yourself the simplest question: what's my goal? Red light therapy can help you achieve many goals like skin rejuvenation, muscle recovery, joint comfort, or better sleep. But each one needs slightly different parameters. Again, if your goal is skin health, you'll want red wavelengths around 633 nanometers at low to moderate intensity for shorter sessions. If your focus is recovery, you'll want near-infrared light between 810 and 850 nanometers for a deeper tissue penetration. And if you're using it to support sleep, you'll want lower intensity in the evening, something that complements melatonin, not compete with it. Getting clear on your why keeps your protocol focused and sustainable. Next comes the device choices. And not all red lights are created equal. Some are designed for decoration, not therapy. So look for these few but essential markers. For the device, the exact wavelength should be listed and it should have some independent testing and is either FDA or CE certified. It should also provide irradiance data measured around 20 to 100 milliwatts per square centimeters at 6 to 12 inches away from the skin. And finally, the design purpose should really fit your use. Panels for full body, masks for facial skin, and flexible wraps for joints or muscles. In my own setup, I rotate between a few key devices. A Platinum LED Biomax panel for my full body sessions, 15 minutes per side, 3 times a week. A current body LED mask each night, 10 minutes after washing my face with nothing applied on top of it. And a Soluma flexible panel for sore muscles, 20 minutes after workouts. And occasionally a studio bed session at a wellness clinic once or twice a month. Each of the brands that I selected publish their irradiance and wavelength data and provide no vague proprietary spectrum claims. Once you've got the right tools, the next step is building a protocol that evolves with you. Start simple. For the first 4 weeks, use your mask or panel for 10 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. Focus on relaxation and rhythm. This is really about creating that consistency and avoid applying it immediately after strong actives like retinoids and use goggles if you're sensitive. In weeks 5 through 8, step into the standard phase. Add a panel for 10 to 20 minutes per side, 2 to 3 times weekly. Try morning sessions for energy or post-workout sessions for recovery. Make sure you start noting how soreness, sleep, or mood shifts. By weeks 9 through 12, you'll hit maintenance, mask every night, panel 2 to 3 times per week, and flexible panel as needed, and a full body bed monthly if you enjoy that. At that stage, results begin to show both visually and physiologically, and that's when tracking becomes powerful. And this is where AI transforms curiosity into data. When I started experimenting, research on photobiomodulation was scattered across different medical fields. So I used AI to organize it. I simply asked, create a table of human trials on red or near-infrared light, include wavelength, dose, sample size, and outcomes. In seconds, I had a sortable dashboard, my personal map of real peer-reviewed protocols. I use the same process when evaluating new devices. I'll paste the product spec into AI and then ask, are these wavelengths within therapeutic range? What's the irradiance at 12 inches? And is there FDA clearance? And that's one quick step that helps you filter hype from hardware. And where AI shines is definitely in tracking results. Every session I log, date, duration, device, and body area, goes into a spreadsheet along subjective scores for soreness, energy, and mood. If you've listened to my AI episodes, you know that I have a system that automatically exports data from my wearables like Whoop Band, Aura, and 8 Sleep, metrics like HRV, resting heart rate, recovery score, and deep sleep minutes. Then I asked my agent, overlay red light sessions with HRV and deep sleep data, calculate rolling 7-day averages, and highlight correlations, and the patterns emerge almost immediately. During consistent weeks, my HRV trends 5 to 8% higher, and deep sleep minutes increase by 8 to 12 minutes per night. The data confirms what I feel, that red light enhances recovery and rest when used consistently, not obsessively. Every 6 months, I take it one step further with a Vizia facial scan. It's a medical-grade imaging system dermatologists use to analyze skin texture, pore size, redness, pigmentation, UV damage, and overall evenness. AI compares each new scan to my baseline and quantifies the changes. When collagen or tone metrics trend upward alongside my HRV and sleep data, I know that the progress isn't placebo, it's measurable. And to keep this all grounded, I follow a structured review rhythm. Every week, I check my soreness and energy scores. Every month, I review my wearable metrics, and each quarter, I ask AI to summarize the trends. Are benefits plateauing, or do I need to adjust time or distance? And every 6 months, I repeat my Vizia scan to see what's changed beneath the surface. And that rhythm keeps enthusiasm accountable to evidence. Still, even the best tools can go wrong if used poorly. So let's talk about the common pitfalls. First, if the specs aren't published, just assume that it's a nice red decorative lamp. And second, beware of overexposure. More time doesn't necessarily mean more benefit. 20 minutes per area is plenty. Third, remember to be consistent. Skipping weeks resets your progress. Also, don't expect instant results. Collagen synthesis and cellular repair takes time. The 8 to 12 week mark is where visible changes appear. And finally, don't forget about the basics. Light cannot outshine poor sleep, poor nutrition, or chronic stress. Think of it as a multiplier, not a replacement. And once the fundamentals are in place, you can start stacking intelligently. I personally like to use the sauna first to open my blood vessels and prime circulation, then red light to boost my mitochondrial output, followed by gentle mobility or stretching to maximize my recovery. At night, I pair a mask session with meditation or journaling to reinforce the parasympathetic side of longevity, relaxation, and repair. If you're using cold therapy, separate it by at least an hour. The cold constricts vessels and can blunt red light's effects. And more than anything, keep it enjoyable. Longevity doesn't come from self-punishment. It comes from consistency, and consistency comes from pleasure. And red light therapy should feel like care, not discipline. And when it does, it's not just a wellness habit, it becomes a ritual, one that aligns evidence with experience and science with self-care. Here's one thing about me. I am obsessed with skincare, not in the casual, I like skincare kind of way, but in the structured, data-backed spreadsheet kind of way. I treat my face the same way some people treat their investment portfolio, diversified, optimized, and tracked over time. My bathroom counter is a small ecosystem of antioxidants, peptides, retinoids, and hydrating serum. Each one has a purpose, I promise you that. But among all of these bottles and tools, red light therapy has become the unshakable anchor, the bridge between science and ritual. It's the one practice that really connects the cosmetic with the cellular. Like I mentioned in the beginning, when I first tried red light therapy, I expected it to feel like a gimmick. How could sitting in front of a glowing panel do anything meaningful for my skin and recovery? But I'm not wired to dismiss things just because they sound improbable. So I tested it the only way I know how, with data. The first few weeks were uneventful. The sessions were quiet, almost meditative. No heat, no tingle, no visible change. But by week 3, something shifted. My skin tone did look better, the redness around my nose softened, and my post-workout recovery definitely felt smoother. By the end of month 2, the data began catching up to how I was feeling. The metrics reflected in my wearables weren't dramatic, but they were steady. And steady improvement is what longevity science is built on. Then came the moment that convinced me, my 6-month Vizia facial scan. If you've never seen one, Vizia is a multispectral imaging system dermatologists use to analyze the skin beneath the surface. It's the kind of objective feedback that you cannot fake. My baseline scan had been solid because I've been avoiding the sun like the plague for the past 10 years, been using sunscreen diligently and vitamin C as well in my morning routine. But my follow-up told a new story. My UV damage index was down 14%, meaning less accumulated photo damage. My redness improved by 11%, and texture evenness rose 9%, which meant I had visibly smoother skin tone. This wasn't filters or flattering lighting. It was just imaging and data, and might I add, these are some of the most unflattering pictures of yourself, saying that your skin isn't just holding steady, it's getting biologically younger. And that scan changed how I really thought about the habit. Red light went from a nice add-on to something foundational. It became core to my routine, something that helped bridge the gap between the things that I was doing topically and what happens deep within the cells. And as someone who's admittedly obsessed with keeping my skin as healthy and youthful as possible, I find comfort in knowing that the same wavelengths boosting mitochondrial function are also protecting collagen, reducing inflammation, and preserving elasticity. The glow isn't just cosmetic, it's metabolic. So red light therapy has become the bridge between my skincare obsession and my longevity mission, where evidence meets aesthetics, where glow meets data. I use it not to chase perfection, but to preserve what's working, to help my skin age at the slowest possible rate while keeping the process enjoyable. So when people ask if it's worth it, I tell them this. The mirror is nice, but the data is much better because when your skin metrics, sleep quality, and recovery scores all trend in the same direction, up, you're not just glowing, you're growing younger, one photon at a time. So let's bring this full circle. We started with red glow, a skeptical mind, and a promise to separate hype from evidence. We covered the biology, the research, the tools, and even the data behind real-world results. And now it's time to distill it all into what really matters. When people first hear about red light therapy, the same similar 3 questions always come up. What is it? Why does it matter? And how do I actually use it? So let's answer them one by one. What is red light therapy and what's the science behind it? At its core, it's the use of specific wavelengths of red and near-infrared light to energize your cell's mitochondria. That light frees up enzymes that get blocked during stress, boosts ATP production, reduces oxidative load, and activates your cellular repair. In plain English, it helps your cells make more energy so that they can do their jobs better, whether that's building collagen, repairing tissue, or calming inflammation. So, why does it matter for longevity? Because cellular energy is the foundation of every anti-aging process. As we get older, ATP production declines, repair slows, and inflammation lingers longer. Red light therapy nudges that system back towards balance, improving mitochondrial function, circulation, and overall resilience. Over time, that translates to faster recovery, calmer inflammation, stronger skin integrity, and steadier vitality. And lastly, how can you apply it safely? Start small and stay consistent, and choose devices with validated wavelengths, published power output, and legitimate certifications. Make sure you keep each session between 10 and 20 minutes per area 3 to 5 times a week, protect your eyes, And remember, this is precision, not intensity. More light isn't better light. Because longevity isn't about resisting time. It's about learning how to work with it. Every small sustainable habit you repeat is a quiet vote for your future self. And for me, red light therapy is one of those votes. It's not glamorous and it's not instant, but it's one of the simplest, most evidence-backed ways to keep my skin and my cells acting a little younger than the calendar says they would. So find your light, stay consistent, and let the glow remind you that the future of longevity isn't hidden in the next big discovery. It's built in the quiet, proven habits that you actually enjoy. Thank you for spending your time with me today on Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity. If you found this episode helpful, please follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. Before we wrap up, a quick but important reminder. Adding Years is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen, supplements, or exercise routine. What you hear on this show reflects personal opinions, experiences, and not medical advice. I'm Josie, and this is Adding Years. Until next time, here's to living better, longer.